Two important points. I want to give credit to Anna here and John as well, and Jordan as well, and a lot of the people that were here.
Anna,
but mainly Anna.
Okay.
Mainly Anna.
Right.
Okay. Because student debt, honestly, I didn't understand how big a problem it was. And so it was one of the issues we talked about. I've covered it 100 times. We certainly covered it 1,000 times more than mainstream media has. But now I get it. It was a combination of what Anna's been said tonight in our live coverage of Super Tuesday, and what Jordan reported from the field in Colorado, that I was like, oh, right. These guys, all these young people have so much debt that they all have a view of the world that seems unrecoverable unless we have some sort of sea change. You know, like if you've got 30,000 in debt, 80,000 in debt, some of them have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. How are you going to get out from under that mountain? We've all become indentured servants, right? And so you need change. It's not optional for you if you're young.
Yes.
And so when Bernie Sanders says, I'm going to change that, and everybody else says, I'm not going to change that, and you wonder why they're so avidly in favor of Bernie Sanders, yes, there's a lot of other factors, but that factor is overwhelming. And look, I'm older. I'm 45, right? I'm 45. Okay. And so a lot of the pundits are both older than me, and their mindset is 1,000 times a year older than me. But even for me, I didn't quite get that perspective as crystal clear as I needed to. And now I get it. Of course they need change. It's life or death for them. Otherwise, they're going to have to be paying that debt. It's going to be on their shoulders for 20, 30 years.
Yes. And look, this is why I cringe every time you support Hillary's education plan over Bernie's, right? Because what she's proposing is the same thing that students have gotten for decades, right? Like, I'm going to give you the option of work study. Yeah, they have that option now. I'm going to make it more affordable as long as your parents are making no money at all, right? Yeah, that system has been in place, right? Where you're signing up for financial aid. They look at your parents' income and they say, oh yeah, your parents make enough money. We're just going to assume they're going to pay for your education. Now fuck off. No, that system is not working, right? Which is why free public higher ed makes all the sense in the world. That makes more sense than pretending like you're going to change the system. You're not going to change the system. And if you do, it's incremental and it's not going to do anything to combat the problem.
One thing on that, I would just say that when Bernie Sanders talks about it, he doesn't speak clearly or make the points he should when he talks about free college for everyone. He says, we're going to pay for it with a tax on Wall Street. But it makes people think, like, how much of a tax are you going to put them on? And they're going to fight back, and you're not. It's a small amount of money, comparatively speaking. $60 billion a year is what I've found out that from John. That is what it would cost for everybody to go to public college for free in America. $60 billion. You know how much money they used to give to Wall Street on a monthly basis during quantitative easing? $80 billion a month for free to the banks. They print it, they give it to it. We have the money in America. He needs to make that statement. He needs to say we're the richest country in the face of the earth has ever seen, economy twice the size as China. Germany can send all their kids to college. We can send our kids to college. You want to have a strong economy? Let's put everybody to college. And it'll cost less money than we're going to spend on bombs in a month. That's what he needs to say.
And let me add one more piece of context to that. The Iraq War alone cost over $1 trillion. So if you say we had enough money for the Iraq War, but we don't have enough money for our own kids, and when one is $60 billion and the other one was $1 trillion, right? Well, where are our priorities? And well, on the other hand, could we have really avoided the Iraq War? Well, we could have if Bernie Sanders was in charge, because he led the effort against the Iraq War. So that's his experience. So if you say Hillary Clinton says, no, we couldn't have avoided Iraq, yeah, we couldn't have because you voted for it.
Exactly.
Right? So when you put all this together, gee, I wonder why young people are for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, and also one other thing. When you're having discussions and debates about minimum wage, and Bernie Sanders comes out with, we need a living wage, we need it to be $15 an hour. He's very specific, he's very strong on that message. And then you have Hillary basically saying, that change is a little uncomfortable. It's going to be hard to do it. Why don't we try to shoot for maybe $12 an hour? Get out of here, right? That's not what millennials want. They want real change. They want a leader. They don't want the status quo. Hillary Clinton is the definition of the status quo.
I hope I'm not wrong about this, but based on, and Dave knows this better than I do because he handles the books for us. But you know that even the conversation helps because I'm pretty sure we didn't pay $15 an hour for some of our employees at some point.
You did not.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, a lot of us work for free. Hey, Jesus, what'd you get? $0 an hour, right? For how many years, right? And so now, but that's a choice we made in terms of working for free for a lot of years and yada yada.
And look, the
But then-
company was not very profitable in the beginning, so
No,
I
I mean,
understand that. Yeah.
in the beginning.
Or now, I don't know.
Okay, so in the beginning. Is 14 years still in the beginning? Anyway, but you know, when people start talking about $15, we moved it to $15, the lowest we paid, right? So it makes a difference, right? It makes a difference until you, exactly as Bernie Sanders said, and Jordan and Eric reported from a speech he gave this week. He said, if you go for a full loaf, you might get it, but at a worst case scenario, you get half a loaf. If you go for half a loaf, you get crumbs. He went for a full loaf and started talking about a $15 minimum wage, and it started to take hold in the idea started to take hold in the country that I guess it should be $15.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
What an amazing difference it makes when you try.
That's true. And look, there are some companies that have some type of conscience and they're willing to make a change. But the vast majority of these massive corporations, massive companies like Walmart, for instance, aren't going to listen to that conversation, that debate, and just decide, hey, you know what? We're going to start treating our employees fairly, which is why it's important to have a federal minimum wage that makes sense. And that federal minimum wage shouldn't be a minimum. It should be a living wage.